because we're talking about very easy to pull off composition, and an enchanted crystal arrow is going to be an element to that.
Yeah, and the thing is, yesterday in their matchup against 300, this is the same first ban that they had on blue side, so maybe expect Gayong and Karma to follow up for the side of Persis Esports. Now, Naos, knowing the capabilities of Aatrox on the hands of Tuvs, they ban it away.
They don't want a Senna, because honestly, a Senna is also a very easy to pull off with the Nasus in the bot lane. It's going to be an easy matchup too, so that's why they don't want the Senna to happen. But with what we're seeing from Naos Esports, they're really targeting Drill with all the picks here, and even Tufts with the Gwen ban that we have here. They don't want any scaling. They don't want any strong champions to actually come out from them. Maybe a Yone could be forgivable, and that's what they're looking for here in the side of Naos Esports, because we've seen them shut down a Yone before. So they are just going to be letting that out.
Yeah, Gragas is open for them to ban. Corki is also open for them to ban. These are high prio picks that Persis Esports has shown us yesterday. So I'm really excited to see like how would Naos Esports play it out and mold their draft based on the initial bans and based on the initial picks.
It's going to be a way different draft than what they had yesterday, because they got away with a lot yesterday. But right now, it's going to be a different matchup. It's going to be a different Naos Esports that we're going to be seeing today. But Persis, with this first pick, they have a lot of choices though. But I'm really looking towards the Yone that could be given towards Drill here, because honestly, this is going to be great. Right now, we're just going to be getting back for a bit, but based on the bans that we've seen there, Infinity, that was a great showing for Persis Esports, shutting down a lot of these champions that are easy to play around, especially in the bot lane. Ashe, Senna, and Galio, those are easy to use, those are easy to pull off, especially in the first objective, so that's why they went for the ban there.
But we're going to have a prio ban from Naos Esports, a very flexible champion at the very least. Camille to be banned away, and that leaves Persis Esports to pick up Karma, and Naos Esports answers with the Riven.
Answers with the Riven, but with Zalpi on their hands, I'm not sure if they're going to be picking the Yone for the second pick here for their side, because this Riven could potentially be a great flex pick, and even the Gragas that they have here. So that's why they're just letting them go for the pick here on the Yone. They don't really need a lot of great prio picks here on their side. Really surprised about the Renekton pick here. They want to at least adapt this Renekton to whatever they want it to be, but so far it has been solid just because of this Nautilus pick.
Yeah, and the thing is, they've picked up Karma, they've picked up Nautilus, so when it comes to the utility side of things, for PSO, this is going to be hell of a draft to battle against. However, Naos Esports went in to the perspective of getting Corki in the first 3 picks.
I like his first picks though. They haven't went in for the Jace even for the first picks. I'm surprised that they didn't go for the Jace here on their side, because Jace could have been a good pick here. But because they're fighting against the Renekton too, they don't want to double down with the Jace against the Corki. That's why they played it safe, get the Corki on the side of Naos Esports, so that they might pick the Jace on the second rotations. That's why, looking at this bans, the Zed Akali, they don't want a lot of these assassins to actually come out, because they are going to be picking a mid lane that's probably a Jace with what I'm seeing right now, and there's a probability too that they can also pick up a Yone right here.
Yeah, but instead they're going to pivot onto a Wukong. Yesterday we were talking about how Naos Esports will be able to pull it through, and Wukong is one of the champions that we correlated synonymously to Zhao P.
Okay, so Zeri, this is a big difference here. A big difference maker for this composition, because I thought that they're going to be going for the Karma in the bot lane, but this Zeri could be pivoted towards the mid lane, which is okay. If it's against a Corki, it's possible to actually work with it. But what I'm looking for here on this team for PSO, if they're the ones who are not going to be snowballing this game, this would be really bad for them, because they don't have a lot of wave clear with this composition.
Oh, yeah, indeed. And speaking of wave clear, you know what? Naos Esports answered with the Lux. They're going through with this specific champion, so expectedly, we could maybe see Corki going into the bottom lane and something else going for Mitsura, or another pivot for Murmu.
I'm really looking towards the Zappi is going to be going for the Wukong. Calm, a great
Right.
Riven player. So Riven is going to be taken by Calm. And I believe that Mitsura, this is a Corki Mitsura, and Lux is going to be in the bot lane. Yeah, that's going to be how this is going to go. So with how it's going to go here, this is... Wait a second. Am I seeing it right? A Nautilus jungle.
Oh. Wait.
Okay.
Isn't tank junglers nerfed in the past patches?
I mean, yes, but Nautilus might have the capabilities here. That was a very... What can I say? That's an out of the ballpark pick. I'm not expecting the Nautilus to actually go to the jungle. At least the Fiora could have been a good pick there for their side, which is why I'm really surprised with it. I mean, in paper, that's a lot of CC. That's a lot of a big potential for ganks because of the dredge line. But I'm really afraid that this might be hard, especially for the wave clear side of things, because it's not going to be easy for the Nautilus compared to the Wukong. So the priority when it comes to ganking would be going to the Wukong.
Yeah, and I agree 100%, because in League of Legends Wild Rift, typically you have a battle of wave clear. You have the battle of who clears faster when it comes to the jungle, when it comes to every single lane in a champion 1v1 type of matchup. Now, jungle individual matchup, Nautilus will definitely not be ahead in any matchup that you can see in traditional jungles. So this is going to be an interesting sight going into game 1.
That's a very smart rotation. Okay, so that makes sense now. So with this rotation coming in from Naos Esports, they're also pivoting towards mid lane, forcing Zapate to go aggressive here on the mid lane, which is a very much needed thing for PSO. What they want to do is to make sure that Dewa is going to be confident with this Dere pickup and just farm out in the mid lane. And Rafe can't even go away from this, because if ever they get a slow, get a shield onto Dewa, Mirma would not have the greatest time until that light binding would be secured and the Little Singularity would have better damage. So that is something that we need to look forward to.
Yeah, and this is what we've expected coming into the series. Because yesterday, this is what PSO has shown us. You know, Ramley going into the mid lane, putting a lot of pressure on the opposite side, getting a lot of deep cryo in mid. And now Esports already understood their task and their assignment. You know, we also have to mirror the rotations of their support and go for a dual mid lane.
With how they rotated here, Infinity, this is interesting though, because with especially in the mid lane, if you don't have a lot of wave clear, if the lane is not that long anyway, it's kind of scaring the bot lane though. But if the lane is not that long anyway, it would be easier for Dewa to match up when it comes to the rotations in the mid lane with Mirbo and Rafe. So Rafe is going to be trapped here in the mid lane, and that's not a good sign, especially for this Kratos.
Yeah, for sure. And Zeri would have to play a little bit towards the late game. Because as we have talked about yesterday, that we have talked about this specific champion, that Zeri is really, really weak in the early game, and there is much needed item skill towards the late game to be able to get that damage through and through against the enemy team in team fight. So this is going to be an interesting point on how Dewa will play this game out. Are we going to see a 20-minute game, or are we going to see a 15-minute game that any of these teams want to put pressure on?
As long as in the 5-minute mark, they're not going to be losing really badly, this pick would potentially be great. Because Dewa doesn't have a lot of wave clear compared to Mirmo, right? But the problem here is, Dewa on fights is strong. That is what's great about this champion, because on this big fights, on this big matchup, especially after the second objective where the Zeri has 2 items already, Zeri's going to be scary because you're not going to be able to touch that Zeri.
For sure. And right now, something interesting that I'm noticing, Dash, is that we're going to have a little bit of AP damage towards Girl on that Nautilus.
Yeah. Going for the AP just for them to have better wave clear. Oh, they're going to go in.
Now going for the 295. And this one will not connect. Wukong with the Cyclone.
I think he's dead.
But the trade back is secured. 1-for-1 trade.
Okay. Explosive gas though.
There. The support. Henry will be stunned. Not enough. No trade, no follow-up.
Nothing. No fights. But 1-for-1 at the top side is actually going to be great, even for the hands of Tufts. But because the wave has crashed on the top lane, that's a lot. That's a lot of gold advantage that is funneled towards Calm in the top side. And we've said a while ago, Calm is a really great Riven player. And we're seeing it right now. The way that they juggled that wave on the top side, that was really great showing. But now, 4 minutes on the clock, everybody's going to be rotating, going to be trying to go and maybe try to get some vision on the top side of the map and get the Rift Herald. But at this point, I really like this back on the side of Naos Esports that Mitsura is just farming alone. He's okay. He's not getting pressured by anything.
Yeah. His ability innately onto Corki, having Valkyrie, and just so much damage capabilities on Poke up against Henry. Going to be the most ideal situation. I think generally a range versus melee matchup, the champion has that innate advantage.
And that's true, that's true. When it comes to the range advantage, yes, it's great that Mitsura would have that, but I was expecting that Henry, especially in this first bout that we're going to be having for today, after Mitsura goes back, gets the package, it would be an easier fight for them. But demolishing the top side, if they take this off, Infinity, this is going to be big, because that's a lot of gold. That's almost 1k gold funneled onto Calm. So Tufts needs to double down on this, or at least come back somehow.
Yeah, and with this huge pressure on top side, if Cubs goes for the recall to support these objective takes by PSO, or even the contest onto the Dragon, they're gonna lose a turret. They have the pressure on the Rift Herald to just support in Shadow top side.
Yeah, look at this Rift Herald being taken. It's gonna be easy taken by Persist Esports. I like the fact that now Esports prioritize the Ocean trade there, because with the amount of DPS they have, this is gonna be very crucial for them. Because the longer they stay in fights, what's good? Come out.
A lot of damage brought out onto Rami now. Fight first into mid lane. PSO putting a lot of these pressure to try and get the tower first blood. However, this attempt has failed or disregarded by Naos' defense in mid lane.
Surprising that they attempted to actually take the tower in the mid lane without it being like half HP, because that actually took off the viability of the Rift Herald there. Yes, they got a lot of playthings from that, but the problem there is, Dredgeline comes in.
Flash hook! Forces out the stasis immediately from Rafi, forcing out the flash as well.
He's alive!
Go back away,
no
and
way.
He's alive! That's just impossible. Now Zombie goes here to respond. Ramley forced to back away, and the miracle just happened for Naos.
Great attempt from Drill. The way they used that trench line in order to catch Rafe off guard, but it was still not enough. The aftershock is just too tanky whenever that happens, and this is PSO. I like that they're very aggressive with this. With their type of composition, they can really take this early game fights, because remember, Drill even has the Luden's Echo, has a lot of AP, so this would be a way different fight that we're going to be seeing from them. The damage coming in from the Dredge line from Drill should be respected.
Yeah, for sure. And they used up a lot of these ultimates to try and just get Rafi down, but it's Naos' esports capability of just maneuvering back away, knowing when to retreat and knowing when to back off.
Yeah, great respect from the side of PSO. I like that. I like that the rotations are really going towards mid lane. They want to give Dewa the easiest time of their lives, because if Dewa gets a lot of these items, it would be easier for them in the long run. But right now, with what we're seeing, flash in!
Cyclone, they're engaging the fight. This is a 2v1. It's over for Cubs. No way to run, nowhere to hide.
No hesitation for them to take that. Now, mid lane though.
Rafi attempting to get that kill onto Dewa, but just so much ability made to kill onto Azeri.
Yeah, Calm is out. The no hesitation flashes from both of them, because they know that they're going to be able to take that kill. And there's not a lot of objectives around the map either. So with the tower down the top side, they got double the value. They got the turret. They got one. So that's a very big win for them. And now, I'm really looking at this Nautilus pick, and I think it's a great idea. Maxing skill tree is a really good idea, so for them to have the better wave clear. And even if the Dredge line doesn't have that much damage, it doesn't matter. As long as they get the Dredge line on anybody, the damage is going to be massive.
Yeah, and this is an interesting perspective into the draft. It's like, we're expecting Jurl, or well, Nautilus in this case, to be the support, and then Karma could go AP, but this is what we are talking about when it comes to the mind games that is being played out all throughout the draft consistently each and every single time in this league so far.
Yeah. This is the reason why Ocean Rift is scary. Look at the upside though. Versus Esports might be discovered here in the top side. And this is one of the reasons why I really like the Ocean Rift. There's going to be a lot of kills all around the map just because of the fact that there's a lot of brushes all around. So with PSO, with how they're looking right now, I'm pretty scared of how this is going to go because both of them really have great drafts in their own right because they have a lot of mix of CCs, they have a lot of mix of damage, but now Esports does have a lot more not resource-heavy champions. They only have Mitsura here on their side. Mitsura is going to be the one needing to get a lot of items, but most of them doesn't really need to have, especially on this second objective.
Yeah, for sure. And if they get the referral, they could
That's fast.
The tower in the mid lane. They have Zeri. They have Triforce already. They have so much damage, considering that Nautilus also built AP. So Rift Rail the PSO has a great value.
Yeah, great value. And I hope that they would be able to take down the mid lane turret because that is going to be giving them a big advantage here. Top side turret, bot lane turret has been taken down, but mid lane is of greater value if they put down the referral there in the mid lane. Might be a distraction for this Mountain Drake fight.
For sure. And if they get the tower in the mid lane, they have the advantage to go for the Mountain Drake. Or even putting Now's Esports at the dilemma. What are we going to do? Are we going to defend mid or are we going to contest objective?
Yeah, they're going to be left with a choice here. And Now's Esports, I do believe that they're just going to be giving this mid lane because they know that this is going to be taken down pretty easily and they need to put one person here. Because if they don't, this is just going to be another hit on their second turret. So they need to be careful in how they approach this. Mountain Drake is at the ready. They have the vision here on the side of PSO. So this is not going to be an easy take here.
Yeah, they're starting this. Drill is just around the horizon. Now's Esports will back off from the Mountain Drake, going into the mid lane. Rift Herald is spawned.
That's too early. They take the referral. They might go for a fight here. They need to force it.
Henry going for the flag, forcing out the flash from Murmu. Huge value, getting that Summoner spell burned. No flash for the Mountain Drake. And PSO is ready to start the rumble here in the Mountain Drake.
Yeah, great damage from Henry. I mean, Drill. It's going to be scary later on, but with their referral early put on the mid lane. They dropped it early in the mid lane. That's going to be a big blunder for them. Package is down, and this might be a great fight here, Infi.
Gerald is here on the right flank, going in. Will not be able to pursue it, but so much damage from PSO. Puts Naos Esports in a shuffle. Naos is now down to the pinch, forcing out the flash for Rafi. And they just have to scour back away. They traded back. PSO is 2-man down. And Kama is ready to go here in the mid lane. How pressure is done by Naos is flawless.
Great ultimate from Roundly. The Transcendent Embrace was able to get 4, and that's tons of damage against Naos Esports. The problem there was no follow-up. And this is what we're saying about the Zeri. Zeri doesn't have a lot of damage until they get like 2 or 3 items in. Right now, they only have the Triforce, and that is not enough to actually make sure that they would be able to take down the damaged members of Naos Esports. And we've seen it in action. That's why Naos just turned around, went for the fight, nobody died.
Yeah, and that just brought a lot of value for Naos Esports. They were able to take 2 members, Mountain Drake, and just lose the efficacy of the Rift Herald taken by PSO. And overall, this brought them now into a 4K gold lead.
Yeah. Great gold lead that they had just because of those fights. And again, the replay. Look at how things went for them, though. They played this so well on the side of Naos Esports that they didn't even need to get away because most of the members of Persist Esports were away from each other. They are looking for a pincer attack, but now Esports just stayed together. It doesn't really matter for them.
Yeah. Right now, PSO continuously pressuring in the
That's
mid
scary.
lane.
What?
And now 2-man light binding will connect. Karma is down, and now Esports has the 1-man advantage. Make it 2 as Gerald falls down. This is a 5v3. A lot of disadvantage onto the side of PSO, and Mitsura's capability into the backside might be seen here, just putting a lot of pressure. Might be a pincer attack, but falling back away, going for the Baron Nashor instead.
What? Just because of one mistake on that dredge line, they are forced to go for the Baron here on the side of Naos Esports. They got 2. They netted 2 kills just because of that one mistake. And then what we're saying about this, they might go and try for this, but are they going to be able to take anything? No.
Henry jumping in. However, no capabilities to get that steal. Now Henry is in danger, being chased down by 2 members as he falls. No flash capable of saving his life. And now Naos Esports once again getting a lot of value with an objective and a kill.
That's a lot. That's a lot to cover. Calm.
Kill. Calm defending Mermu in the mid lane. And PSO has to fall back. 5-man is available for Naos Esports to pressure mid lane as they will pursue to push it down.
They can push it. They can go in if ever they want to. They have the package on the hands of Pinsura, so whoever fights them, oh, this is scary.
WRL going in for the ultimate, knocks up onto one, no follow-up though. And right now, it is Mitsura being able to still get that kill.
No
and that
scope.
will put pressure onto PSO with 3 members alive to defend. Naos could just put them on a pickle. They're able to open up the mid lane, and they have the lane prio.
Yeah, prio for these people. WRL is going in, and just one mistake. Infinity, that stemmed from one mistake. Dredge line onto the mid lane, close to the Raptors, and that is the reason why they lost this towers, this inhibitors, the Baron. That's a lot of things just because of one mistake. One dredge line was all it took for Naos to just capitalize on that misposition from WRL. And now Naos Esports are just capitalizing. They want to get them more pressure all around the lanes. They can go for the bot lane if ever they want to. They still have the Baron buff. It's going to be an easy take for them.
Yeah, it's just so difficult. If you imagine having an AP Nautilus to build onto an AP Karma as well with an ADC Zeri, so the only people and the only players that can engage on those fights and be the tank or the sponge for the team for PSO would be Fiora and Renekton. So we'll see how this would turn out, because right now we have a Zhao P that is locked to the ground, a 1-for-1 trade secured, but we have a flash coming through for Mermu, binding onto one. The final spark will not connect though, however, and now WRL is forced to flash away. Not tanky enough. Henry goes back with a dash, but here comes Calm into the backside. Henry goes with a stun and forcing out the flash to retreat. And Naos Esports breaks down another turret.
Yeah, breaks down the ice, and now Naos Esports has their eyes set on another objective around the map. 5 seconds death charge. Oh no, that's gonna be chasing them onto the base. And that's one ultimate down. Because of that, look at Raffi. Oh no, it actually caught off. Oh no, I thought I was gonna follow them to the base, but now they're taking the Infernal Drake, and most of the members of Naos Esports might be a bit too late.
Race against time. PSO will be able to secure the Infernal Drake, but at the cost of their junglers. And now Naos Esports is looking to chase down their opposing team.
Damage.
It is Zeri stuck on the hills, will be able to get that kill for Naos. They get the double. Fiora is down. Henry and Ramley, the only ones left alive. They're pressuring on the bottom lane, and the Infernal Drake might just have cost them game number 1 in the series. Renekton into the backside, looking to defend, looking to hope to get those kills off. However, Naos is here to win, and they're here to finish game 1 to take the advantage against Persis Esports.
Finish the game 1 with just one mistake that they've seen. It all snowballed into their favor, and that is such a great showing. Great direction for this team right here. Naos Esports are really great juggernaut right now, and they deserve so well whatever happened here on their first bout, and we're seeing it right now. Naos Esports during that first game, they were unbreakable even at the last second, only gave 2 kills, and we've said a while ago, it's very out of the park. The Zeri pick, the Nautilus pick, they were very out of the park, and Naos Esports showed it to us that they're not gonna be surprised by this new strategies that the other team is putting out.
Yeah, and the aggression from what they've shown us from yesterday, they showed it to us once again here in the LCQ in the very first game. And Dash, they're 1 game away into proceeding into the next bracket.
Yeah, and also with this, it's basically match point. So with what they've seen from this highlights, all of this is gonna be nothing. There's not a lot of fights until that last bout that they had it was gonna be 1-4. It was still close at that point. I thought PSO might have the chance still, but now as esports, the way they played that, the way they played around one mistake, it was enough to actually get them or net them the win. That's a great direction for this team. This lineup that they have, I was looking at this lineup and I thought they had a lot of CC, they had tons of damage, a very well balanced team. And we've said a while ago that PSO doesn't have a lot of wave clear too. And Zeri takes a long time to actually ramp up, and we've seen it in action during this fight. We've seen it. There you go. This is the fight that I'm saying. This one fight actually turned the tides around. Just because they lost their jungler, that was an easy Baron for Naos.
Yeah, and they have to pay the price of having a pure AP Nautilus that couldn't really go in front and go to become the sponge for the team. Therefore, when it comes to objective, it is really going to be hard for Gerald to be able to match it up on par onto Zhao P. So this next game number 2 of this series, is going to be an interesting feat on how the draft is going to become, how junglers will be molded into the series.
Yeah, how are they going to be getting away from this? Honestly, I'm really surprised at how this all went out, honestly, Infinity, because I thought that this game is going to be great for Persis Esports because they defeated the team like the 300, and this might be because the 300 was really surprised on how they played the game, but now it's Esports. They're looking like a different beast here in the LCQ. They're probably the strongest team right now because whoever gets here, it's gonna be them in the grand final, so they need to be scared. PSO, they still have a chance if they lose this series, but the people there, the teams they're waiting in the lower bracket are scary themselves.
Yeah, and this is what we've talked about pre-draft. Beginning of the show of Wild Rift Esports in the LCQ, we talked about how Naos' Esports' draft is linear when it comes to playstyle, when it comes to how you want to pursue onto team clashes. And in this draft for Naos Esports, if Murmu gets light binding, you have a lot of follow-up, right? And you also have a lot of disengages built into Rafi, into Zalpi, into Calm, and it's just so hard to deal with this draft of Naos Esports.
And you said it a while ago, who is going to be fronting for this team? Because everybody here is going to be dashing in and out. Yes, even if we can argue that Gerald could go in, throw out all the skills, that's not enough to actually burst one target. Even if they go full AP against Naos Esports, it's not going to be enough. Yes, they have damage from Dewa and Ramli, but it was not enough to actually finish off these targets from the side of Naos Esports. And this is what they need to think about on this next match. Are they going to be banning some of these champions? I believe not, because most of their champions that they banned a while ago was actually good enough. Those champions that they banned, I was surprised that the champions that they're banned are very easy pickups, but Naos Esports found a way around that. And right now, Mitsura. Oh, wait. Yes, Mitsura. Mitsura is going to be the MVP that we have right here in the game. The KD is 11 and tons of damage. We've seen it a while ago in action. The damage is really, again, for PSO, I hope they pick something that could change the tides around against Naos.
Yeah, and they're now going into respect onto Mitsura. Ban away the Corki, it's just too much damage, and this is just a relevant champion for the mid laners of Naos Esports, especially being played by Mitsura yesterday in their matchup, and right now in game number 1, the Taz defeated PSO, so having that respect ban would mean that Mitsura will be forced to go for something else.
Okay, I mean, if they ban the Corki, there's a lot of choices for Mitsura here. I mean, it's Mitsura we're talking about. Yeah. So there is a lot of choices for this man. So there's still a Jace, there's still a Zed, if they may, on the side of Naos Esports. So there's still a lot that they can use. But PSO, okay, the respect there. This Ashes and Senna, the Galio is available here. Is PSO going to be taking this Galio for the first pick? Because if they don't pick the Galio, Camille and Galio might come out for the side of Naos Esports.
Definitely, I like how you mentioned that perspective, because when they banned away Corki, Camille, Galio was open. Now Karma is also open for any of these teams to pick up. So what will that prio be for Persis Esports on their first pick up against Naos Esports?
They need to pick the Galio still. I mean, I remember yesterday, the Vi from Zhao P is a possibility too. So now Esports could take the Galio here. They can take the Galio. It's okay even without the Camille because the Vi is still a possibility that they can use. So that is a very safe pick for them. But if I'm going to be thinking too on the other perspective, Riven could also be a pick that they can use because Calm played it so well a while ago and they can pick anything on the second one. Let Zalpi go for scaling, or if they want more CC, Gragas is another good answer.
Yeah, and I love that pick because it's not just about the comfortability of NAS Esports on the Gragas. It's not just the power of this team on this specific champion, but it also removes Gragas from Ramley by Persis Esports.
It's the same draft. The Karma, the Renekton actually coming out again. And what are they going to be picking? They need to pick something different here. If they want to fight hand on hand, yeah, that's good. That's good. They need to deny the Wukong on the side of NAS Esports. Hand this to Henry in the mid lane. If Mitsura picks a solo carry mid lane, I think that is a good pick against it.
Yeah, and now this leaves the question of what will Zhao P play? And Lucian will be prioritized. They don't want to give it away to Persis Esports, considering that you have Karma to the side of PSO.
Yeah. My point a while ago, if ever Henry is going to be holding onto this Wukong, Mitsura is going to be playing this in the mid lane. And it's not going to be an easy lane. Yeah. So what they can do here is find a way to play around the Lucian. Because Jace is not a good answer against the Lucian. So an assassin. That's why now Esports are banning the assassins. The Akali, the Zed are going to be banned here, so that Mitsura would have an easier day in the mid lane.
Yeah, and now Esports could still pivot themselves into a different type of perspective in their draft, right? Because Zhao P, or well, the Gragas specifically, is still a very flexible pick. So they could still go for a Nami Lucian, they could go for something else into the mid lane or even the jungle. So I really do like what I'm seeing right now from now Esports' first 3 picks. But right now, when it comes to the bans, we have a Zed follow-up, so 2 assassins being removed by Naos, and Shen and Ziggs by PSO.
Yeah, this is a very flexible pick from the side of Naos Esports. What I'm looking for here is a pinch more damage from their side. I mean, the Lucian has damage, the Riven has damage, but it's not enough to actually be impactful at this point. I think Mirmo could still pick up the Lux here on the side of Naos, because Lux is still going to be a good pick, because they're losing on the wave clear department, and the Lux could be a good answer to that.
Yeah, and Lucian, if this is going to be a similar type of strategy of what they've done in game number 1, wherein Murmu and Rafi go into the mid lane, Lucian is a very mobile champion that can go back to safety easily.
Zoe is a good answer. Even if we don't see a lot of these types of champions, like in League of Legends PC, we have the LeBlanc, we have the Fizz, we have the Zoe. Zoe is one of those trickster/assassins that could fight against a Lucian. So even if it's not an equal fight before level 3 for Dewa, for this Zoe, it's still going to be a fight that they can fight against later on in the matchup. That is going to be scary. And this is what I'm looking for PSO. The Zoe, the Yone that they have, this is the damage that I'm looking for during the last game.
Yeah, for sure. And Zoe as well is a really mobile champion that could sleep enemy teams from a long distance. So this is going to be an interesting type of matchup. And you're looking for damage, they lock in onto Jace.
That's surprising too, because I thought this Jace might go to either on the Baron lane, maybe go to the jungle, and bot lane is still gonna be Mirmo and with the Lux and even the Gragas. So this is a great adaptation for them. They want the Jace to get early advantage when it comes to the jungle, so that's why they picked that against the Yone. So at least the wave clear is there, and the drill is not going to be having the easiest time in their jungle.
Yeah, and this is going to be scary when it comes to the pre-clashes that can occur in this game, because you have a lot of pokes coming from Naos. If Lux will be able to go for the light binding, Zhao P can follow through with the pokes, Mitsur can follow through with the pokes, so there is just so much potential on having that HP advantage before a 5v5 or a team fight occurs.
What I'm looking for here is the same thing that we had a while ago, Infinity. The problem here is they don't have someone to frontline for the team. They don't have an engager. They don't have someone who can actually face check on the side of PSO. Yes, they have a lot of damage from the Yone, from the Zoe, but I believe that it could have been better if they had something else, if they had tank support because the tank supports are just so strong right now, especially in the competitive scene. You can get away with the Karma, you can get away with the Yumi, but against Naos Esports, I think it would be hard. It would be really hard.
Yeah, and this is a very scary moment now for PSO, because if they lose this game, they're going down into the lower bracket. And remember, PSO is Indonesia's last hope to get into the regional tournament for Wild Rift League Asia as a whole. And it is really going to be scary for them here in the upper bracket semifinals. So I'm pretty excited to see like how PSO will change their strategies, or are they going to pivot to something else from what they've done in game number 1?
Yeah. Here in game number 1, it's way different from the side of Perseus Esports. I like that they had this adaptation when it comes to the drafting, which is okay. But they don't have a lot of things going for them with this composition. Yes, there were some adjustments. They are having some damage. But would they have enough CC to actually couple that with the aggressive composition that they have? Yes, they have the Wukong from Henry. But would that be enough? I hope it would be, so they can take us to game 3.
Yeah, and something of an expectations for viewers watching at home right now for game number 2 is that when it comes to a Jace pick into the jungle, or regardless in any single role or lanes, is that at level 3, we could expect Jace to just go into the mid lane or somewhere else and deal so much damage.
That's very much the characteristic of the Jace, because Jace has a lot of skills, which is almost everybody says this. Jace has 6 skills, and that is the reason why he's strong, because he has a lot of things going for him. He's not going to have the power spike at level 5, but it's okay. It doesn't really matter because he has a lot of skills in his belt anyway, and the amount of wave play that he has in the jungle is also good. So that is why Jace is a very well-rounded champion, together with the Lucian too on their hands, both of them, because those are that's basically the trinity right there in the mid lane. The Jace, the Lucian, and the Corki. And if both of them are on your hands, that is a strong comp right there.
And we have to state that the playstyle of Naos Esports is quite a bit aggressive into their draft. So considering that aggression, here at the early game, they're really just going to play hand-in-hand combat up against Perseus in the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes into this game.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I mean, Zoe, we have seen it a lot during Phase 1 and Phase 2, and Perseus Esports is one of those teams who actually pulls this off. And I like seeing a Zoe every time because it's very, what do you call this? Very explosive, great plays. And if Dewa would be able to pull this off, it's going to be a beautiful match that we're going to be seeing here.
Yeah, just first item Luden's Echo for Dewa. If he could get that quickly and swiftly, the damage is going to be insane for this specific champion. So expect a lot of things coming into that in 4 minutes, 5 minutes into this game. It is going to be hell breaking down loose in this rift. So I'm really, really excited to that aspect. But right now, when it comes to the individual lanes, do we have any expectations here, Dash?
Yeah, I mean, individual lanes is going to be easier for the hands of this bot lane, especially Mitsura. Henry's having a hard time here in the bot side because, you know, it's a Lucian versus a melee champion. Everything against a Lucian right now, that was kind of scary from Henry. I thought they're going to be going for the fight there. But with Naos Esports on this matchup, the early game is on their hands. The problem here is if this heads into the late game, it's quite scary because the composition of PSO was built for the late game.
Yeah, for sure. Because what they have Karma, they have Wukong for those late game utility and tools. Although right now PSO is building into a scary gank in the top lane. Calm dashes away, uses up the flash, still has the barrier. Going in for the 2-man knockup, might be an outplay. However, Calm is just pinned down. Will be able to take that first blood. However, the trade back is there. And that is just a 1-for-1.
Great rotations from PSO, going to the top side, even putting the Ignite on the head of Calm, just for them to not have an easier time in the top lane. We know that Renekton versus Riven matchup is not an easy matchup for Riven, but if they get a first kill for Tufts, that's a big, big win, because this top lane is going to be way harder for Calm.
Yeah, and that was the problem of PSO in game number 1. Calm going very, very aggressive up against PSO's Fiora, or PSO's top laner, which was Tufts. And Tufts in like 8 minutes already had a 1k gold deficit up against Calm, and it's just too difficult. And now having that prio in the top lane means that they can now dominate Calm in top side, which meant that they will have an advantage in that specific lane.
Yeah, really nice. Really nice showing for the side right here, PSO. Now their rotations are way better than what they had during the last time. And they just need to be very... They don't need to be distracted on the hands of PSO, because with Naos, even with the kill that we've seen a while ago, they had an answer. The Wukong fell down also on the bot side, so that is a 1-for-1, and that took out the advantage that they had from that gank on the top side.
Yeah, and now it's just a matter of time. PSO is built towards the late game, as you stated a while ago, so this might just be like a patience game coming in from them. If Naos Esports goes for the engage, they go for the counter attack, but it is really difficult for them to now maneuver here. But just so much damage. This is what we're talking about, Dash.
That's what I'm saying. When it comes to the Zoe, if you don't have an assassin, and if you have a Zoe, you basically have an assassin on your hands, a long-range assassin at that. And whenever a Sleeper Trouble Bubble hits, that's most likely a kill for the team. So that's why you need to be careful. And now as esports are going to be careful around any part of the map, especially these walls, because that is where the Zoe thrives.
Yeah, and right now, it is a matter of time for PSO and now it's esports going near to the first objective. Paint me a picture here. When it comes to the Rift Herald or Dragon, which will be the priority for either of these two teams, especially considering that Infernal Drake will be the first Dragon?
I mean, we've seen a while ago. Now it's esports prioritizing the Dragon every time, and considering the way that they put wards around the map, look at this. Bot lane is the priority of now esports too, and top lane for PSO, they're going to be taking the Rift Herald. So they're just going to be trading like the one that they did the last game, because if they gain the advantage in the early game anyway, they don't need to get that Rift Herald. Because as we said, when we're reviewing, we're talking about the Rift Herald, the priority of the Rift Herald is because they want to take the first turn. And as long as they make their lanes easy, it's okay. Their Rift Herald would not have any value like what happened during game 1.
That's true, that's true. So now we'll see how this would turn out, because in the past game, PSO was not able to utilize the Rift Herald very well, not being able to take down turrets. Right now, Zaupi attempting onto a gank onto Henry. Final Spark is there, just build damage, but it will just be the end of it. Now PSO though in the mid lane going aggressive, getting a kill onto Raffi. That's one man down. They cannot defend the mid lane, and Doa is close to death. But that will just be a miracle. Karma as well, but Karma will secure the finishing blow.
Oh, look at Zaupi though. Too aggressive. There's 3 people here.
Flashlight binding will not connect. Karma is stuck in the middle of the jungle of the enemy team. Scouring a bay, buying some time, getting space for his team, but in the end, it's just over.
Mitsura?
Now in the bottom lane, Mitsura just got the outplay, getting the double, the trade back, a perfect execution by Mitsura against PSO.
Great dubs. Now Miraba's gonna fall down too. Oh my. This is PSO. This is what we're looking for, Infinity. During game 1, this is the reason why PSO was able to top the 300 yesterday. It's because they know how to play around the map. Look at this. 2 towers are down already. Top side mid lane has been taken down just because they took the Dragon on their hands. Yes, it's an Infernal Drake. You get extra stats. But it's gonna be real hard to make use of it if you can't really find opportunities like what PSO is doing right now. Mid lane, top lane is down, so there's priority next time for the second objective for it to be taken by them.
Yeah, and the thing is, PSO's draft has so much engage tools. Any single of these champions from this team right now in game 2 can engage fights.
Yeah, and that's why PSO, look at the confidence from them. Because they have the tower in the mid lane, it's easy enough for them to take cover around the jungle of Naos Esports, and this puts them pretty low on the bar here. Naos Esports lose the tower in the bot lane too, because they just left one person on this one. And PSO, they're showing us their fangs, they're showing us their true colors, and this is it. This is the way to go.
Yeah, and right now, Naos Esports got the trade back when it comes to turret. However, we have to consider that PSO got all the tier 1 turrets broken down already, which meant that when it comes to map control, PSO has the advantage on bot side and top side jungle, even in the enemy team's area.
And we talk about the advantage that they have in the early game, right? For Naos Esports, yes, they can win fights, but as long as PSO play the numbers game against them, especially on these opportunities that they can have because they have the towers down, it's easier to do. And the more towers are down, the stronger Zeri gets because there's a lot more walls to use.
For sure, for sure. And right now, though, Naos Esports, what can they do to get a lot of values back? Because right now, looking at the game, it's looking like every single lane, or well, at least most of the lanes, is in favor for PSO.
Yeah. I mean, 3 towers are down, so yes, it's easily enough to say that they can easily take this referral. Because look at this, they don't have a lot of vision in this part of the map, and if they try to go for a face check on the top side, they can be met with a Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and that is scary. Once you get hit with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, that's a lot of damage that can be pulled through. Maybe even half of this roster that we have announced, they can be pulled to half HP just with one paddle start to Sleepy Trouble Bubble.
This is really good for Naos Esports. They got the clear on wave on top side. Naos Esports went for the 5-man drone. Bot lane was not able to get any kills or value from that. So they get a turret. So I was talking too soon. However, but it is the Rift Herald. Yeah, it is the Rift Herald that PSO wants.
They can take down mid lane. Because mid lane is already half HP. So if they put this on mid lane, that's an easy take for them. So this is a lot more value for the side of PSO. And they're playing around the map so well. Yes, Naos Esports have been getting crumbs, getting gold somewhere. But would this be enough? They need to break the stalemate. Because as long as they don't break the stalemate, PSO is just going to take over the map.
Yeah, and I believe we talked about this in the past. Is that when it comes to draft individual matchups or overall matchups, the team that has a better power scaling when it comes to a stalemate has the better advantage, because you're not getting a lot of these value in the early game power spikes of your team if it is stale, if there's nothing getting out from kills, ganks, objectives. So now Esports has to do something that is explosive, that could change PSO's type of advantage.
Yeah. Sleepy Trouble Bubble, though. Okay, I thought that's going to be the engage. But with what we've seen right now, Infinity, look at the force that PSO is doing. They're forcing the wave clear in the mid lane because they want to threaten the members of Naos Esports. They can take this. Mountain Drake might be the target. They'll flash in. What a body slam.
Fate Seal will not be able to connect because of the explosive cast that was engaged by Naos Esports, and now PSO has to retreat. They don't have 3 ultimates that could engage onto Naos Esports, and now Naos going for the flash, engage. Karma is down. They were able to take down 1, and Henry to follow through, and the man advantage for Naos Esports is secured. Now Tufts and Zoe is locked into the bottom lane. They might get the sleep onto Lucia, but the trade is there. Tufts is the only one left along with Jurl, but Jurl is too far away. They're going to push in the mid lane, so a lot of bot time by Tufts is being brought to a lot of value in this matchup. They might get the inhibitor in the mid lane, and that just brought down a lot of power for PSO.
What a great way to play from PSO. And now they want to go for a fight here in Zalpi. Fateseal's not going to be hitting, but I think he's going to fall down still.
The flash is there. Stasis Ancha to buy time though. Now Karma to follow up. Will be able to get that ultimate. The kill is secured, and PSO still got kills from that.
What a great showing. What a great showing from PSO. The way they played around a mistake, yes, they made a mistake. They lost a lot of members just because they weren't able to connect their ultimates to their skills. But now Esports was able to get the kill on them, right? But the way they pivoted towards the mid lane after that was great. But now top side might be a kill though.
Lucian is gone. This is one of the key players for Naos Esports. They lost their ADC, and now PSO is on a roll. They're just going for a lot of values consistently, where Naos Esports is not able to get the trade back in value.
Yeah, and with this, they can take the Baron. 30 seconds on the clock. They have no mid lane on the hands of Naos Esports, and it's going to be easy for them to just take this Baron without any contest, because they don't have any vision in this part of the map anyway, and it would be hard to get closer and closer to this Baron. So PSO, that's why they're backing away. They are regenerating for this next bout, and that could potentially be the Baron that they're looking for here.
We'll see. Because currently, there is no vision on the Baron's pit for any of these two teams. And this is going to be very important when it comes to an objective, especially coming through for now esports if they want to make it back, or if PSO wants to end the game, considering that there are only 4 turrets left on the side lanes.
No turrets in the mid lane, and that is a big setback for now's esports plans. And PSO, building on what we said a while ago, Infinity, even if Henry doesn't have a lot of damage, they only need the Cyclone from Henry, and that's enough value. We've said a while ago that the composition might struggle a bit because they don't have a lot of CC, but Henry is a good answer to that. Because he has been seeing a lot of value. Yes, he's dying a lot, but he's enabling his teammates.
Yeah, and generally, when it comes to a Wukong's value, it's more of an engage tool. When it comes to team fights. And right now, Henry is doing that. Going for the Cyclone onto Murmu, forcing out the flash. You have the follow through for Zoe. Will not be able to get that sleep down onto Naos Esports. And so far, this will be a truce. But Naos Esports has bought time for them to just chill around. But PSO is looking for that engage. Fatal Seal connects onto 1. Now final spark to just push PSO back. And now Ramley in the front lines trying to get that root. Will be able to connect onto Rafi.
Wow.
And this will bring down 2 members from Naos in the flank. We have Renekton going for the stun onto 1. But Naos is forced to retreat. They're forced to back away, which opens up the Baron for PSO.
Baron is going to be taken, and the way the fight goes, Naos Esports double dipped. They lost already. They lost a lot of flashes before the start of this fight, and they still double dip onto it, and that might be a problem, but Zalpi might have some other plans here.
Now it's Esports has the vision. We have Dewa going for the sleep.
Bubble.
Stasis Enchant to buy time, but when he wakes up, it is over. And now they're going for the kills. Zalpi still gets 1, and now into the backside. Mermaid's 1v1 up against Henry. They still get the kill. Now the Esports get the miracle play that they need, but now time and Baron is still up.
Now the Esports still not done, and we've seen that during this fight. I thought that might be the end for the side of Naos Esports, but they contested. Even if it was a 3v5, they found value out of that. And with 20 seconds on the clock, they're the ones who's going to be taking this Baron.
And this is what you've stated a while ago, Dash. One mistake can change the game, and Naos Esports is here to win. They're going in for the Baron Nashor. They're here to conquer. And now PSO has to manage the Baron buff against Naos Esports for a bit of time.
Great use of the 4v5, or rather the 4v4 during that fight. And this was the reason why they won. Now Esports just struggling, isolating the targets one by one, and they were able to find value out of it. And we're seeing the power spikes right here. Tufts has seen Mitsura. He could take down 1, but he's not going to be taking them all. And we're going to be seeing it more on this next fight that's going to happen. 15 seconds on the clock. They're quite equal on both sides, Infinity. So PSO needs to be careful and needs some respect against Naos Esports right now.
Yeah, and Ocean Drake is now up. Another objective will be able to put out a fight for both these teams. We'll see how this will turn out, because currently everyone is just hovering around the bottom side, is hovering around the horizon. What can occur here, Dash?
They still have the Drake. This is going to be a trinity of Drakes right there on their side, but they still have the Fate Seal and Juro. Look at this, too early.
Juro is not going to be able to get the trade into the Ocean Drake. However, Henry is there to destroy the inhib. Now another lane of super minions will come through into the mid lane.
Great. Again, Henry just putting the pressure back up on the mid lane, even though they have the Baron. But because they have the Baron still inside of Naos Esports, it's still possible, Infinity. They can still take down this mid lane turret, and they need to be careful about it. They have 3 Drakes, remember. That's a lot of stats on their side. So Naos Esports are not afraid of PSO.
Yeah, and they're going for one because they know the PSO has the advantage when it comes to team fight, and now
Bubble.
they're going to pursue it. Looking at the flank,
Cyclone.
Zalpi is there to go for pokes and damage, but Henry is there to just dismantle the whole team.
Wow,
and right now,
PSO.
Calm is late to the party as Yone go for the knockup.
Wow.
They get the ace, and PSO conquers now Esports. That is the game-ending team fight, and they go to rush in to the mid lane with a cannon minion. The Nexus is open, 30 seconds on the clock, and PSO equalizes the series with a 1-1 in a best of 3.
The fantasy is still alive, and they are the stars of this show. PSO played this game so well, constantly applied the pressure against their enemies, and they were victorious in the end. For Sis Esports, that is a great show of macro, and this was what we said before the start of the show. The 300 lost against them because of that same strategy. The way they played around that Rip Hurled in the mid lane started the snowball, started it in their favor. We've seen some light from Naos Esports during that last half of the game, but Persis Esports just got so much advantage that it was so hard to handle.
Yeah, and that last fight was incredible. If we're gonna see the highlights, it is going to be a little bit farther into the latter part of the game, but Wukong just went into the backside with the flank along with Drill with a Yone to set up the whole team to success.
That was crazy. Honestly, the start of this fight was crazy, and this was what we were saying a while ago. Looking at the highlights, when they lost 2 towers and when Naos Esports didn't have the chance there, I believe that during that last fight, if we can have a replay of that last fight later on in this highlights, that last fight, they were too aggressive. They were too excited on taking towers in the mid lane, and without Calm, they can do anything. I believe that Calm was one of the strongest in their team at that point, and one of the reasons why they might have an easier time taking these fights. But because they took a fight that was not in their favor, and Drill and Dewa was so fed, the reason of their downfall.
Yeah. And we have to reiterate once again from what we said a while ago that PSO's draft in this game too is, or well, has a lot of engage, right? You have Renekton that can single targeted out champions. You have Gerald that could win team fights on its own. Henry, Wukong that could set up the team with the Cyclone. Dewa with the long range sleep, and Ramley with a lot of utility for the whole team. So there's just so much that you have to be aware of for Naos Esports. It's just so difficult to fight up against, especially considering from what you've mentioned, Dash, that their lineup is set for success towards the latter part of a game.
Yeah, and we've stated it a while ago. Naos Esports is a very early game to mid game composition, and the start of it was when they lost that early game grasp. That was the start of their downfall. Yes, they were able to find some light, but this last fight though, looking at how it went, we didn't see a lot of the last fight, but how it went was in favor of Persis Esports because it was a 5v4 during the start of that fight. Yeah. And Henry was the element, the instrument. That's why they were able to win that. Henry went to the back line, get a Cyclone onto 2, and that was enough for them to just jump on 1, take 1 down, 3v5 easy. So, PSO, I like this. I like what I'm seeing from them during Game 2. We said it a while ago. Game 1 was surprising, but Game 2 was exciting. And Dewa, this Zoe could be one of the best champions that was in the hands of PSO, because whenever there's a Zoe on their hands, it always surprises us.
Yeah, it's just so mobile. So mobile, a lot of damage, has CC. It's just, there's a lot of capabilities that a Zoe can do innately built into her skill kit. And it's crazy being used by Dewa as well into that game. Because consistently, they was just able to maneuver around on those team fights. And
that's the man's.
It's just crazy. And now Dewa's the MVP with a Zoe.
Yeah, and again, yeah, that's how you should look like whenever you go for a fight, though. Dewa,
for sure,
going crazy with the Zoe. Sleepy trouble bubbles are always the reason why you should be careful of a Zoe, because whenever you get hit by the lot of value from the Wukong, Cyclone is enough of a value. Even if it doesn't have a lot of damage, CC is enough. And it was enough to traverse the gap that this champions that they drafted from PSO, because most of them are really weak in the early game. But because they were able to survive, it was great. It was great for them.
Yeah, and they're just playing the patience game, right? All throughout that game number 2, they were not going for the hyper aggressive, and there were instances that they did, but they were going in for the 4-mag roam. So now esports can't do nothing from that point in a 4v1 basis. So PSO can do the same thing if they want to go for scaling. They opt out for risks, but instead they go in for those sure kills, for those secured value. And right now, we're speeding all throughout the bans here, though. Corki, Senna, Ashe being targeted by PSO. On the other hand, for Now's Esports, they remove Aatrox and Gwen from the champion pool.
And again, it's the same thing that we're seeing from them. PSO and Now's Esports even are always banning the Camille. They always want to go for the second pick, but they haven't seen any Camille for themselves. And really surprised that they always pick the second rotation, because if it's going to be going the same for PSO, the Karma is still available for them, and now Esports could just pick the same thing. They could just still pick the Riven, they could still pick the Renekton on their hands, or do they want to change some things? Because right now, I believe that Riven and the Gragas are still good picks. They need to change something else in their draft.
Yeah, and speaking of change, what do you think will be that perspective? Because if PSO wants to go for the same draft, wants to go for the same lineup, what would Now's Esports do to counter that?
I'm really surprised that they haven't picked the Galio, though. Because Rafa is a really good Galio player, too. If they want to change some things, explosive gas and the body slams were great a while ago. But, oh, that's smart, okay. Because if they pick the Wukong, there's not a lot of choice for PSO to go for the CC. Because a while ago, their composition was really reliant on how this Cyclone is going to go from Henry.
Yeah, and now this begs the question, what would the jungler pick up? Because previously in game 1, Nautilus AP jungler isn't exactly the perfect fit for their draft, and when they went Wukong, it was good, but who else can do the same thing? So right now, what they prioritize is Karma, Renekton, and Zoe, which states a very specific role-oriented draft for now. So I don't know what Now's Esports is going to lock in, but instead picking up a Lux instead.
They're banning the Zed and the Akali again for the side of Now's Esports. They have been banning that a lot. They don't want Henry to have that capability. But I believe that PSO could go for a Garen here on their composition. Yes, doesn't have a lot of CC, but what they would need is probably a CC on their jungler. Something that could potentially go for the same single target CC, single target kill that they've been going for since a while ago. I think it's not bad to have a Vi in their composition for PSO. Because if they're going to go for the single target, no problem. That's easy for the Vi.
Yeah, and because they've shown power on that specific champion already before, right? I mean, Now's Esports has done this rather, and PSO can do the same thing if you want to go for pick-offs, especially considering that you have a Zoe mid laner, expectedly. This could just mash up together in a very good mix and match for the draft.
Akali's available. Who is going to be picking up the Akali?
Galio. There you go. Your expectations has been met, Dash.
Okay, so one thing's good for him. Because if ever they pick the Galio here, and if they don't smell the Vi coming in from nowhere on the side of Now's, this would be a good composition for Now's Esports. The only problem I have if they go for a Galio is that they don't have CC. That's one. I mean, they don't have damage. That is going to be one of the things that they're going to be looking at. Because if they don't finish the game early, it would be a problem. And as I say, the Garen is a good pick-off. And the Akali could... Never mind, they can't pick an Akali already on their composition. They need a damage jungler for them to have at least a helping hand. For after Dewa deals damage, there's someone who could finish things off.
Yeah, and PSO played Garen yesterday in their matchup up against 300. So it is not exactly the worst, and they have another frontliner that could open up these assassins and these damage dealers to start off big against Now's Esports.
What are they looking for here? They're looking for damage on the hands of Now's Esports. They're looking for a high damage mid lane, but there's not a lot of options at this point.
Ziggs?
Oh, Zeri?
They're going for Zeri.
Are they gonna give this to Mitsura? Mitsura with the Zeri? Yeah, I was looking for damage, but not like this. but we saw the Zeri a while ago. It didn't deal a lot of damage. And in a composition in where Zeri needs to position pretty well, because there's a lot of single targets here that could look for Zeri. Mitsura needs to be careful. If ever, Mitsura is going to be the one holding onto the Zeri.
Yeah, and I'm really curious because this might be well, the first time that we're gonna see it specifically on the series for Naos Esports' side. How it's gonna play out? Is it going to be an aggressive Zeri in the mid game? Is this going to be a late game Zeri where Naos Esports has to play it quite safe? But it's really difficult at this point because you have to consider that you also have Dewa, you also have Ramley, you have Henry to be able to just cancel out Zeri's mobility if the CCs comes through. So I'm really curious at this point, Dash, and you have to walk me through the expectations that we can expect here for Game 3.
Let's put this into perspective, right? PSO has a lot of single target. They're going to be looking for the Zeri, for sure. Whenever they have the opportunity, they're going to be looking for that Zeri, get a stun, get a Demotion Justice, get a Sleep Wheel Trouble Bubble, whatever. They need something to hold down to the Zeri. But if ever they won't be able to reach the Zeri, it's gonna be a scary Zeri at this point, because if they won't be able to chase, they have a lot of leaps, they have a lot of dashes, it would be easy for them to do. But remember how mobile the Zeri is. So it all comes down to how they play it. Because remember, Naos Esports still has the Wukong, so it's really hard to reach the Zeri on the back line. They even have the Hero's Entrance. So it all comes down to how long Mitsura stays in that fight. And that's all there is to it, to what Naos Esports wants to do here.
Yeah, so at this point, Game 3, we have to look at Zeri for Naos Esports. We have to look at how he would play this out, how he would maneuver into those team fights, and let's see who would win the upper bracket semifinals. But right now, it's Naos Esports going for the aggression. The double Mel Light Binding from Murmu is perfect, followed up by Rafi's taunt, but a trade back is secured with a 1-for-1.
Still a 1-for-1, I thought. How did he know? That's what I'm surprised of. Because they have the... What? I was surprised that they actually knew when they went in, the Light Binding was able to hit on 2. And that was still a 1-for-1. I thought that... that's why. Okay, that's great. That's smart. Okay, with that, that's going to be good. Great start of the show for Naos Esports. Giving that to Mirmo was really important. And the Karma, Ramley was the one to get that too in the hands of PSO. So bigger value for Naos Esports here.
Yeah, and we brought up the question, is Naos Esports going to be aggressive or are they going to patiently play the game? They answered it right out of the get-go. First right 30 seconds into the game. Yeah.
After they got fielded, they were in their baseball field, just went in, just hit a home run.
Yes,
right on the bat. Yeah.
For sure. That was a crazy play from Naos Esports, but it is not the worst time for PSO as they got the trade back for Karma. It's not the ideal situation because this is the support, but regardless, it is a 1-for-1 trade. And Zalpi's presence into the mid lane just shows, on how much they want to protect this mid laner and how much they want to go for the presence into the game overall.
Yeah. And I like that PSO still got the trade there. So this is very much we're still back on the start. That we don't have any kills. Everybody's still okay. But the value of those kills differs because it's a very different roles that Wu got those first kills. But right now, it's going to be the same. Rotations onto the top side. The pressure that they're putting on Calm is just immense. Oh, no. They always put the pressure on Calm. Whenever... Wait, what?
They changed target. I think Murma just hit Garen for some reason, and then
no way.
Turret just changed target. Turret MVP from that bot lane fight because it was crazy. If you think about it, Zalp was full HP, Turret hits down to a quarter, and then they got the kill onto Lux.
I think Henry just went close. I mean, right? You're seeing Mitsura actually just spamming his shots, right? And Henry just went in front of him, and that gave the tower a chance. Oh, you're hitting my champions, huh? Then he got the kill. Easy kill for PSO. And now Esports, that's a big blunder. I thought that was an easy lane for Naos Esports in the bot lane because Mitsura is just using his range against Henry. Because Henry is not going to get close unless he uses the flash. But with this, at least he's surviving for a bit more.
Yeah, and once again, it's Henry having to deal with Mitsura in the bottom lane. It's a mini-range matchup. Mitsura just has to play it on the back end, just poke up against Henry. But this time around, you have Henry just going in for the bot side, maybe hoping for an engage. And here, PSO as well is rotating. So it is a dangerous spot for Mitsura.
Ooh, Ultra Shock Laser though.
Going for the jump. Hero's entrance to zone away
Trouble.
the enemy team. Zones away with a sleep. Mitsura just being pulled in onto Ramley. Roots onto Galio. The light binding is perfect as Mermu just clutched that fight, turned things around, got the double. And right now they're
Another
looking
binding.
for more. Garen is looking for the kill onto Raffi. However, the Mash and Justice will not connect. And Galio with a top, with a CC is just flawless as they take the trade back. They kill down onto Jurl. And that was just phenomenal from Naos Esports.
The blunders that happened a while ago, let's take that off to perspective because now Esports played that so well. The way they started the fight though, PSO, with the Sleeping Trouble Bubble, they thought that they would be able to take the kill in Mitsura easily, but because we have the Galio, as we were saying a while ago, the Galio from Raffi with the Hero's Entrance is enough to disrupt any combos that they have in PSO, and that's what we've seen during that fight, and that just snowballed in favor of Naos Esports. Look at this replay though. Mirmo also. Look at the light bindings, hitting 2 people, and this last one hitting Henry too. That's a lot of value just from those light bindings.
Yeah, and this is what we've talked about a while ago in game number 1 or game number 2. How Mermu's light binding, if it hits, Naos Esports is free to dominate the arena. Is free to dominate the Rift. That is consistently what we are reiterating all throughout the series. So expect a lot from this Lux being played by Mermu on how Naos Esports is going to play through those team fights.
Yeah, and PSO again. Even with the loss of while ago, Dewa doesn't really have a lot of kills during the first game, but he finds values during the mid game to late game and where the Sleepy Trouble Bubble to the bottom star gets value. Hero's Entrance gonna come in.
Hero's Entrance going for the double man knock up. The taunt is there. Perfect from Raffi.
It's a kill.
Tom has to go back away. However, he's buying time. A lot of these champions. But Zoe will be able to get that sleep onto Raffi. Get that trade in. It's a 1-for-1 for now. Light binding will not connect
That's
as
scary.
Dewa forces out the flash.
But the bot lane though, Lightning Crash has been used though.
Now Zalpi is there to flash in, going for the Cyclone to buy time and respond onto Mitsura. Henry is slowed. Zalpi goes for the Cyclone, but Henry will be able to go back away unscathed. And that's just enough for Naos Esports.
Did you see that? Killing spree on Dewa. Even if it was 0-2 a while ago, now he's on killing spree, and now mid lane turret is potentially gonna fall down again. And top lane, Infinity, it's a deja vu of what happened during game 2.
Yeah, and this is the power of PSO. Even when we're watching out the VODs yesterday, how PSO won against 300, this is their power. When it comes to turret objectives in the early game, they have it in the bag, and we're seeing it through and through right now. They get 2 turrets immediately. Naos has no trade when it comes to turrets, and there's just too much gold injection in 6 minutes.
Oh, wait,
Now
just
though,
a sponge
fight
though.
binding once again. That's just a very risky play from Jurl, jumping into the Dragon's Pit with no vision.
Another great kill again for the side of Naos Esports, but remember, PSO finding this value. So whenever they take the Rift Herald, they snowball it to the top side in the mid lane, and Tufts is walking the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah, and now we're going to have a fight once again. And Raffi, 2-man taunt. It's going to be a light binding onto Dewa.
Again.
Dewa can't do nothing. No mobility, no damage, and now Esports gets the shutdown.
Mirmo gets another great light binding out of that kill. Now they want to take down the mid lane.
Raffi on the front lines gets them taunt onto Kha'Zix, and Kha'Zix is done. The CC chain is perfect for Naos as they get the kill onto Jurl, and they secure the mid lane turret.
Gets a kill for the Troubles and a tower too in the mid lane. Great answer back, and slowly but surely now Esports are finding value out of those losses that they had a while ago. Now they want to go for the bot lane, and Henry is left alone here.
Mitsura and Mermu is there Light Binding will not connect as there's just too much speed from Henry, as that will just be enough to go back and retreat. No damage onto Garen.
Okay, here's the thing. The problem here is, even though the PSO has been getting equal kills a while ago against Naos Esports, the problem here is, if Drill doesn't get the early game, this is the problem when you pick a Kha'Zix. If you don't get the early game, if you don't snowball the early game, and considering how Naos Esports fights right now with this composition, they don't stray away from each other. They go together. Kha'Zix won't find any value out of those fights, and that is what I'm scared of for PSO here.
Similar problem we discussed yesterday, wherein if Kha'Zix is batting up against a team stacked upon each other, isolation damage onto the passive will not take into effect. On top of that, you also have Zalpi on the Wukong, so it's so much harder to deal with. Right now though, Mitsura 1v1 up against Henry, forcing out the ultimate, and Henry has to scour back. There's just too much damage and mobility coming in from Zeri. Henry is now back to safety. And you have Lux and Galio coming in for the support. Going into fray. Now Esports is just there. They were there to respond as well if a fight occurs, but will not push through as Rafi and Murmu opts to back away.
Still have the Rift Herald, 10 seconds on the clock, and now Esports might have a different perspective here. They want to go and try to take this, but with the way PSO is positioned, they might be a bit too late on this Rift Herald battle. Are they going to be contesting it? Because it's going to be a 4v5, but they're looking for a tower contestation in the mid lane and the bot lane.
Yeah, they don't have to contest the Rift Herald because they can secure the third bot lane. So we'll see how this will turn out though for Naos Esports. How can they maneuver onto this Rift Herald to get value? Because right now, a turret has been destroyed into the bottom lane.
They know that they can't win the fight at this point though. So that's why they didn't take any battles against Naos Esports. They know what battles to take. And PSO, that's a very smart way to play. Naos Esports now left with 2 towers down in the bot lane. Don't have the priority on the bot lane on this Ocean Drake fight. And that is going to be crucial on this next 30 seconds.
Yeah, and in theory, it's just equivalence, right? You get the Rift Herald that is a tower secured. But PSO can do that with the champions without contest, without risk. So it's just too much of a safety net for PSO on what they're doing currently on getting a lot of these turrets down.
It's not equal if they're taking second tier turrets though. Because the second tier turrets have bigger values, because that's a lot of vision out of context here for the side of Naos Esports. So now PSO, with the way the vision works, Naos Esports might have an easier take on this Ocean Drake.
Calm, engaging onto Henry. This is a 1v1, but just a zone away onto Garen. Ocean Drake being started by Naos Esports. No vision coming in from PSO. You have Tubbs coming in. Kha'Zix as well. Nice, will not be able to get that smite through. So no steal. Naos gets the Ocean Drake. Zalpi going to be the target. The Mash and Justice will go through. Zalpi is going to use up the flash over the wall to back safety. Mitsura flashes over the wall as well as Tubbs looks to engage. But Mitsura is just too mobile to get that kite through. As they get the kill onto Tubbs. And now PSO is a man disadvantage. It is a 1-for-1 trade though. Now Henry with a flash going through.
PSO
S is dominated by PSO. Zalpi is low, and PSO will get the A's with a 1-for-1 pick off time and time again.
Gets the ace in PSO. That looked like a long fight, and it looked like in favor of Naos Esports. They got their ultimates down. Rappy used the hero's entrance, and nobody was caught on it. PSO just became very patient, and they used their range, they used their skills in favor of their fights, and Naos Esports was caught by surprise. Yes, they didn't take the Ocean Drake, but they got tons of gold infusion on a lot of their champions.
And this is what they say, Dash. History repeats itself. PSO is doing it again. From what they did in Game 2, it's currently happening in Game 3.
Game 2, I thought that was just some mistakes by Naos Esports, but PSO plays this again in the second time. It's like a tape recorder. It's like the same game again. And this is how they play it. This is so nice to see. PSO are just so good at playing the macro. And Naos Esports are always forced to react.
Going in for the sweep onto Galio, but too far away. There's too much members from Naos Esports. But on the other side of the map, it's Renekton and Split pushing the bottom lane. So PSO, it's just a matter of buying time for Renekton to be able to push and continuously put out pressure.
look at how they are forced to react, right? 5 people were at the top side, and they got no value out of that rotation. And that forced the priority in the bot lane, and that made it easier for the side of PSO to just get more vision on the top side of the map and maybe take this Baron later on. Now as Esports, with this 4 tower down on their side, it's getting harder and harder for them to traverse through the map, that they need 5 people to actually rotate.
Yeah, and they just have to. Because if you put down one member to match up against Renekton, Renekton can go all in with the Dominus and go in for the single targeted stun, which would just dominate the opposing side. And even if there's an opposing team that dominates Tufts at this point, he could just dash back. He has the flash available, he has the ignite available, so there's just too much of a threat that Renekton imposes onto Now's Esports with those constant split push on the side lanes. And now Now's Esports has to think, what are we supposed to do? Because right now, Baron is up.
What are their options? They don't have a lot of options. Miracle has a lot of gold, could potentially take down the backline as fast as they could. But how are they going to be reaching that? How is the light binding going to be reaching that? That is how Now's Esports could go about this. If ever Miracle gets a great light binding to Final Spark, a 4v5 is a fight that Now's Esports can take.
However, we have to take note that Mitsura is already on the 3rd item. So when it comes to Power Spike, this is his time to shine. We'll see how much damage will be produced though when it comes to team fight, because right now, as we've seen from previous fights, PSO's targets is Mitsura.
Ooh. That stun forced the lightning crash out of them. Oh, another cyclone in the mid lane.
Esports is just too much split in this fight. They're able to get that kill
4v5
onto Dewa with the light binding along with the CC chain that will put them at a man advantage in the latter fights in a couple of seconds.
They got something out of it again. And look at this bot lane. Everybody's here. Are they going to be taking the Baron?
Coming into respawn, forcing over the wall with a flash, but that will be Galio just
Henry's
hovering
dead.
around to follow up with a taunt, and now Henry is dead. Now Esports got 2 kills out from nowhere. Now they got the advantage back.
They got the answer. They got the turret a while ago, and this could force a Baron on the hands of PSO. They need to go for a fight against this. It's a 4v3. Until Minimal comes in here, it's still a possibility that now Esports could take this Baron. It might be a replay of the last game, but they respected it. They don't want to take. They don't want to make any mistakes. Infernal Drake is going to be here in 30 seconds. And PSO, they got another tower. Out of those 2 kills, a tower is still great.
Yeah, because it can go either way. It could go to the side of Naos despite having a 3v5 situation. Because remember, Jurl is on Kha'Zix, and Kha'Zix just too mobile to get those steals in. And it can go towards the side of Naos because Murmo is available. If Light Binding connects onto Jurl, that's over for PSO when it comes to that objective. So it's a matter of how you play it out, and both teams just opt to go for a safe play.
PSO has a better line of sight here against Naos Esports, but Naos is forcing their hands away here. They need to go for an engage right here, and that is right now.
Let's look at how Dewa going in for the steep onto Galio. That is good. CC's coming in onto Naos. Stasis going through though to just despite disregard the CC and the damage. Now Murmo and Mitsura is down. Naos has no damage and they have to retreat because if they lose, they're gonna lose turrets as well. But Zalpi going to force the back to retreat, and Dewa is there to sleep onto Calm. The CC is flawless and they got the trade. They got the win on that team fight, and PSO is here to get turrets, to get more gold, to get that snowball running.
20 seconds of the clock. They can end this if ever they want to. They can go for this because there's only one person standing here.
We'll see. Zalpi went in, cleared down the waves. That is clever, but is that going to be enough though? It is. Now the Cyclone comes through, knocks up onto 3, but that will cost his life. But that will buy time. Mitsura and Murmo is coming up at 1 second. They get the kill back onto Garen. Renekton is dead. Wukong will be able to get that steal. And now turns still got around with 100 HP remaining on the Nexus.
That's too aggressive from PSO. They force it. There's still a fortify on the Nexus, and that's why they weren't able to end it. Yes, they can take this. They can take the risk of taking Infernal Drake, taking an objective, but Zalpi is not around to actually help them out. Now Esports is looking to take another inhibitor turret in their favor just to equalize things on the map.
Zalpi literally made history and made miracle happen in this game, in this series that could change things up for every single one. And Jurl is occupied from Rafi's existence in the Dragon's Pit. And right now, the Nexus is open in the base. The hero's entrance is there, zoning away Jurl, and Jurl is opting to go for the wave.
Now
but now change things around, gets the win on this series, and they go to the grand finals.
They had the base race. They went for it on the first time for PSO, and Naos did the same thing in the end. One mistake could potentially end it all, and we've seen it here. Again, Game 2, Game 3, Naos Esports were at the losing end. I thought it would have been the chance for Persist Esports if they backed away after that first inhibitor turret, take the Baron, and go back after it. That could have been the win for PSO, but Naos Esports capitalized on that mistake. And as you said, Zalpi played that so well, played around the minions at the back and forced them to lose HP and forced them to lose everybody. And that was great performance with Naos Esports.
Yeah, and Zhao P is quote-unquote the guardian angel of Naos Esports. It bought time, it bought an extra life for Naos Esports to win that game. And it's just mind-blowing to see that firsthand, how Naos Esports played that very, very well.
Great play from Naos Esports, the patience that they had during this whole game. With what we've seen, PSO was the one holding. They are the ones who are steering the ship. They are the ones in control. They just lost control somewhere around the ocean and they crashed. And Naos Esports, great play from these people. They got their chance in the end. Look at this fight, sir. From the highlights, we're always seeing the way they play around each other on the side of PSO with this composition. It's so well thought of. Look at this. The way Joel played this, the aggression that they had, they were so afraid of how they played this because they knew that they have the winner's advantage. They have the damage advantage. And that's why PSO was not afraid of taking any fights.
Yeah, and this fight specifically, it was Renekton who was putting pressure in the backside, was putting that kill pressure onto Mitsura and Mermu. They have to scour back, they have to retreat. It was basically a 1v4 in the backlines wherein Tufts was just dominating. And I have to tip my hats onto the Baron laner for PSO.
Great. Oh, definitely. This was so great. Tufts yesterday had a hard time though. He had so much hard time when fighting against the 300, especially against Helios. But now he showed he has the redemption era. But still, they are going to be going to the lower brackets though, and they might still have a chance here. With what we've seen, the performance that they had today, they can go out at the lower brackets and maybe get a revenge match against Naos Esports.
Yeah, for sure. And Naos Esports with that amazing win and that turnaround that they've done up against PSO, clinging for the hopes for a win with Zhao P in the center of it all. They're now going into the grand finals, waiting for the next challenger to come through to go and take the opportunity for a spot into the regional league. And overall, I'm just amazed how Naos Esports played that through and through the upper bracket semifinals.
Great play from Naos Esports. Game 1 win, Game 3 having a hard time during the last parts of the match and was able to win in the end. Whew. I have no words, Infinity. I have no words because that was an exciting last 2 minutes of the game because they both tried to go for the base. PSO tried, Naos was the one who won in the end. And this is a great end for a great series. 2-1. PSO have a lot of this team has a lot of promise, but Naos Esports has a double promise, and that was the grand finals.
Yeah, and that Game 3 will be written in history for WRL Asia Open Qualifier as probably one of the best matches to see and best games to see, because the ability of how Zalpi just went in, cleared the wave, disregarded the 4 people who was going and knocking up onto the Nexus, that just basically changed the whole game. Changed the whole matchup in their favor. And time again, this is what you're saying and talking about, Dash, wherein one mistake can change everything in a game.
Yeah. We've seen that time and time again in this game. Game 1, Game 2, and even the last game. One mistake netted them the win in the end. An MVP! Raffi gaining the MVP on this game. And that's a lot of KDA. And also, there was a lot of times that we've seen Raffi using the Heroes entrance, gaining a lot of value for the team. But I could argue also that during this game, Zalpi could potentially be the MVP too, because of how